With presidential campaigns in full swing, we take a look at where both the Republican and Democratic presidential nominees are spending their time, efforts, and money before November. Cleanup continues after a deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore, where officials say crews are in the process. Coming up.
Plus, you may need the umbrella at times this weekend. Your forecast on the way as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
President Biden hosted a splashy campaign fundraiser in New York City last night. He shared the stage with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, and the evening was hosted by The Late Show's Stephen Colbert. Former President Donald Trump was not far away visiting the family of a police officer killed in the line of duty. Caitlin Huey Burns is covering the campaign.
We got 3 presidents in the building tonight.
Inside Radio City Music Hall, a star-studded fundraiser for President Biden's re-election campaign.
My question to you, sir, can voters trust a presidential candidate who has not won a single Trump International Golf Club trophy?
I told him this before when he came into the Oval, before he got sworn in. I said, I'll give you 3 strokes if you carry your own bag.
The event, headlined by former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, brought in, according to the campaign, a record $26 million. Cash Biden will need as he trails former President Donald Trump in many general election polls. But as the presidents arrived, so too did protesters in opposition to the administration's handling of the war in Gaza, a major issue with a key voting bloc. Despite President Biden's low approval rating, his campaign has $71 million in the bank, compared to the Trump campaign's nearly $34 million. Trump's legal troubles have been draining resources. A super PAC supporting him has spent $8.5 million on legal fees so far this year, including $5.5 million just last month. Meanwhile, Trump was also in New York to attend the wake of fallen NYPD officer Jonathan Diller, who was fatally shot Monday during a traffic stop, a visit made to send a campaign message.
We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order. We have to do a lot of things differently because this is not working. This is happening too often.
Trump plans a fundraiser of his own next week, just a couple of days after he's due to post the $175 million bond in a civil fraud case. He'll also be back in New York in just 2 weeks when his criminal trial is set to begin. Caitlin Huey Burns, CBS News, New York.
Kentucky's primary election is May 21st. The last day to register to vote in the primary is April 22nd. For people looking for a job in politics, there are about to be hundreds of jobs available at the Republican National Committee. Just a few weeks ago, the organization fired a large portion of its staff. Now it's opening dozens of offices across the country and staffing them up. That's going to happen over the next month or so as Republicans gear up for the presidential election. One official within the RNC says the campaign will be run differently in each battleground state. The Biden administration is rolling out the nation's strongest ever federal tailpipe standards for heavy-duty trucks and buses. It comes a week after doing the same for cars and trucks. The heavy-duty vehicles include buses, commercial vans, and freight trucks. The new rules push the industry towards zero-emission technology. The rule is technology neutral. That means vehicle makers can meet the standards how they choose. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has signed a bill that blocks cities from enacting some local police reforms. They include a Memphis traffic stop ordinance created after the fatal police beating of Tyree Nichols. The Memphis ordinance, named in honor of Nichols, bans police stops for minor infractions. The city council passed it in 2023 after Nichols, a 29-year-old black man, was severely beaten by police during a traffic stop. Kentucky legislators faced a midnight deadline last night to pass bills before the veto period started today. Bills that made the deadline include the state budget. The new 2-year state budget is now in the hands of Governor Beshear. It includes a 9% increase to a classroom funding model called SEEK. and give school boards the power to decide on teacher pay raises. The budget would also boost state funding for school districts' transportation costs. Some of the bills that did not make it to the governor's desk before the veto period include Senate Bill 6. The bill would have defunded diversity and inclusion, or DEI, efforts in Kentucky colleges and universities. And Senate Bill 147, that bill would have limited where adult-oriented businesses and performances can be. Drag was described under a section on adult cabaret, which the bill restricts.
Well, this stretch of dry and mild weather will continue to close out the work week, but a first alert, we are tracking some more rain chances as early as tomorrow. This afternoon, though, some more dry weather is on tap. A live look from Buffalo Mountain from Perry County. You can see a few peaks of sunshine. That current temperature up to 68 degrees, and we should be in the lower 60s, so most of us are above average on this Friday. In the upper 60s to lower 70s, up to 67 for Pikeville, 64 in Grundy, and 70 for Jacksboro, also in Harlan and Somerset at this hour. Up on first alert, pinpoint Doppler, all thanks to high pressure. More dry weather is on tap, and again, that will stick around as we go into this evening. Lows in the middle to upper 40s to wake up and start the weekend. And speaking of your Easter weekend, we are watching out for a few changes as a more unsettled weather pattern is on the way. Now, some good news, not going to rain all weekend, and also not going to rain all day tomorrow or on Sunday, but we are tracking a few showers, mainly late tomorrow, pushing into the first half of your Sunday. And we stay unsettled at times into early next week as a few more showers and storms are possible by Tuesday. And then we turn cooler by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Olivia?
Cameron, thank you. A massive salvaging effort is underway to reopen the Port of Baltimore after the deadly collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The Navy has mobilized several pieces of equipment to help lift debris from the water. Officials say the section of the bridge trapping the cargo ship Dolly weighs between 3,000 and 4,000 tons. So before the Army Corps of Engineers can start moving anything off the water, they are going to have to cut the debris into smaller pieces. Jacksport is planning to help take some of the cargo initially bound for Baltimore. The collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore has raised concerns about supply chain impacts, considering the port handled nearly 12 million tons of cargo last year alone. Other East Coast ports like Jacksport are stepping in to fill the gap.
So we're uniquely situated to receive vehicles. That's one of our largest revenue producers here is vehicles. We receive somewhere between 500,000 and 700,000 vehicles annually. And so this is our bread and butter.
Daniel Bean says additional shipments could be coming if needed, but with multiple East Coast closer to Baltimore than Jacksport, he expects the local impact to be minimal. Coming up as First at 4 continues, millions of Americans are traveling to see a total solar eclipse, but witnessing the rare sight could be expensive. We take a look at the possible price tag for an eclipse trip.
Plus, we stay warm into early next week, but a cool down could be on the way by this time next week. Those details coming up.